Thanks everyone, I'm the Questing GM. I wanted to make this video as an introduction to the channel and to put up a sort of the disclaimer for the sorts of content that I'm planning to make and what you can kind of expect from the channel. I think it's only fair that I set some expectations like a normal GM would before I start making some of the so-called real content that I'm to get this channel going. So this video is basically just to answer 4 whys of doing this. So the first why is how I got the name, or why I chose the name the Questing GM. And this goes back when I think it was probably in the 90s. And it's something that I should have talked about in my first video about who I was. This goes back to the time when the 56K modem, and maybe some of you were a little too young, but back then when you went on the internet, you were charged. Your phone bill was charged by the minute of how long you were on the internet. So, and this was the time when I started going online to play Dungeons and RPGs. And back then, before we had Roll20, Fantasy Grounds, and all the other virtual tabletops, there was this old chat client called WebRPG. And I'll be really surprised if any of you actually know what it was, because back then it was the only one that I knew. I don't know were there any others at the time during the late 90s, and it was like it was I would say probably the first that I knew at the time. It was a chat program. It had dice rollers, it had chat functions for like whispering, even had a grid map back then. And even though we were playing RPGs that rarely use grids at the time, there were still ways there was still that option for you to have a grid map and placing images, or which we use as tokens. Nothing as advanced as what Roll20 has right now, but at the time it was pretty impressive. And I think it was like a Python based chat program, and I've spent a lot of time going online, because part of the reason of that was because when I started playing role playing games with my friends, nobody wanted to DM. So the only way that I could actually play Advanced Dungeons and Dragons AD&D back then was if I went online and started looking for games. Although the main problem back then was I was probably the only Malaysian around, and it was very hard to find games that was suited to my time zone. And given that we were charged by the minute, the phone bills were easily racking up if I actually played a session. So it turned out that I actually didn't really play a lot of games on web RPG, but it was my first taste of playing role playing games online. And it was the catalyst of how I got the name Questing GM, because when you logged into web RPG, you had to have a username, and I couldn't really think of one at a time, and I wasn't really comfortable using my real name, back in the 90s. And somehow the name that struck me was Quest, Quest. And I don't know why. The word apparently looked very, very, very nice when you typed it on the screen. And so I just thought that, okay, I'll just use that as my username, Quest. And so I was playing web RPG as Quest, and maybe it had something to do with my fascination with the King's Quest series, if any of you also are old enough to know what that is. uh, and after a few years, I think into my secondary years, I basically just stopped going on to web RPG. But the name Quest just must have just stuck with me for quite a bit. And it eventually it will come back later, around in 2008, when I decided to start blogging for RPG related topics. And obviously you need to have a name for the blog. And since at the time I was mostly GMing for a big majority of my gaming life. So I thought that it was an appropriate thing to name it the Questing GM. And so that's basically the story of how I got I decided to stick to the name of Questing GM because that's pretty much what I think I do as far as playing RPGs is concerned. So which brings me to the second why, which is why I wanted to start this channel. So as I mentioned earlier, I have a blog called The Questing GM, and I had a lot of trouble trying to sustain the blog, especially during my when I started working, being an adult and all that sort of thing. Um, and Things have really changed since when I started blogging in 2008. It's really 10 years ago. And so I since I didn't have a lot of time to write for the blog, and I thought that it was like much easier to do just video content, and to start a YouTube channel. So one of the main reasons why I decided to go to have this channel was more to be either a replacement or a supplement to my blog, and and the reason is why I still wanted to keep the Questing GM moniker, and also why I think that this would be a good addition to my blog, is that because I want to keep the mindset of being a Questing GM. I personally believe that years of experience has nothing to do with how good you are as a GM. You may have a lot of experience, but it's you it's all you can only get better. You can never become the best, and you can never be super confident because there's so many ways to play an RPG, and there's always new situations and new encounters that you've never met before, and you're always on a learning process. That's what I personally believe, and that's also the mindset that I carry with me as a Questing GM. And the goal of all this that is, even though I will never uh, feel super confident as a GM, but I want to be better. I want to be a better GM, and it made me think a lot about RPGs and how we play, why we play, uh, what do we do as playing role playing games, and that sort of thing. And over time, when you started thinking of all these things, you accumulate a lot of thoughts, a lot of ideas, a lot of questions as well. And I felt that I eventually needed a place to put all this somewhere, because there's only so much space that you can have in your brain. And since I wasn't really putting it down on paper, or a digital paper in terms of the blog, I decided that having a video channel and just pouring it out there as an archive or as a journal would be much better for me to improve my GMing. uh, so you can sort of think of this channel as like an open journal of my GMing journey, and how I go through the steps of being a better GM. And the third reason also why I started this channel is because that I like to have discussions about role playing games, and I just recently found a group on Facebook that does some pretty heavy discussions, but it's been a real blast hearing all these discussions going on, and it gives you some perspective and makes you go into some retrospect about what you thought role playing games was. And maybe you have to challenge your assumptions. You have to also uh, think critically about uh, why you do certain things, and why things are the way they are in role playing games. And I felt that if people have access to my thoughts and my ideas about role playing games in a open fashion, it would be able to spark a lot more discussions, which is something that I genuinely really hope that anyone who watches my videos would be inspired to. I don't mean discussions like to start an argument I want people to have an open mind, to listen to what other players have to say, and take that into perspective, and make that your own, and think about, and let that sink in, and let you think about how we play role playing games. So that's the second why. And the third why is basically why I think you should watch the Questing GM. This is said very nonchalantly. I'm not trying to like push this channel to be like the greatest uh, game RPG channel that you ever be, like some other YouTubers, which there are plenty. There were a lot more. There are now a lot more RPG YouTubers than there used to be. I would say like at least 10 years ago. But that's certainly not one of my goals of starting this channel. I don't see myself, and I don't really aim myself to be a big name in the YouTuber space. I may be just a small voice, and I'm much more happier to be that, because all this is personal. All this is just about me, in a sense that uh, if no one else watches my videos and I'm the only one left in the world that watches my own videos, that I think that suits my purpose. But in any case, I think why you should watch this channel is because of some of the things that I would like to explore, and maybe you might find that interesting, and maybe we can, go on this journey together, or go on this quest together. So the sort of things that I would like to explore in my channel, number one would be just random RPG thoughts, ideas, and concepts. I have a feeling this will be the one that makes up the bulk of my videos. And if you're not really interested in talking about RPGs, some concepts and theories, and maybe just certain RPG topics that may be related to you as a game master, or as a player, or as someone who plays role-playing games in general, uh, then you might find that this channel is going to be, well, boring, which I don't think so, but everyone's mileage varies. um, Another thing that I would like to explore in this channel is to share about GMing techniques, techniques that I personally use. These are all, if I'm sharing a technique, I would think I would try my utmost best to at least provide an example or a scenario where I had used the technique before, and whether it had worked or not. Um, and I want to make this very clear that I'm not trying to tell people, or give advice to people on how they should do things. uh, Whatever techniques that I'm sharing is all very, it's tried and tested in terms of my experience. And and you know maybe it works, or it didn't work in the context that I was using it, and that's probably something that I will try to divulge and explore together. But hopefully, when someone watches one of my so-called GMing technique videos, uh, they may decide to try for themselves, which I will not take any responsibility if it doesn't work as well as I did. But you know I'm just throwing out these techniques as ideas. Take it or leave it. Some may sound really outrageous, but some may sound like, okay, it's worth trying. Uh, and the third thing is what I'm trying to explore is, as I already mentioned before, this is all going to be a very personal journey for me into being a better GM. So there may be some personal anecdotes or stories, or things that are happening in my gaming life that I just want to like put on camera and talk about it, and just let it out. And if you are interested in my personal stories and my personal gaming stories, then yeah, that's sort of the kind of thing that you might be expecting from this channel, quite a fair bit. uh, and being this having this as a personal space, as my personal soapbox, I'm more than likely to use it to rant, to rave, or maybe even review things that I've bought, or to rant and rave about certain RPG topics. These are probably the more emotionally charged type of videos, which uh, I I think it's not really all that helpful, but sometimes you just need to let things off your shoulders, and maybe that would spark some kind of discussion. I certainly try to keep my opinions as friendly as possible, but I I need to make sure that I have that space for myself at sometimes. Um, Another thing that I will also be like exploring in this channel is I will, if I have the opportunity, and if I have the time, I will try to dissect and discuss about rules and design about RPGs. I think there's a lot to be learned when you think critically more about what you're reading from the rules. And I'm I'm very looking forward to break out from my D&D mold, and to just step out there and see the wider world of RPGs. I have heard a lot about other RPGs other than D&D, and I think there's a lot of concepts and new ideas that we are missing out, that may actually improve your RPG game, including D&D. So uh, if I'm looking into any new rules, I may most likely keep a journal of it here. uh, maybe maybe a video about one chapter about the rule book, go through it, maybe make some quick thoughts, footnotes, maybe explain it a little bit, and maybe try to understand the rationale of the design, and how is it encouraging us to play maybe in a certain way, or maybe it just shows us a different way of playing. And if there's any future plans, I mean the ones that I've mentioned above are all the current plans, are the current sort of content that I can do right now. But in terms of future plans, I'm hoping maybe that if I can get a proper setup, which I'm trying to work on, maybe hopefully by next year, no promises, is that I may do certain live streams of me doing RPG related works. It could be prep, it could be design, um, it could be sharing any sort of feedback sessions that I have with my players or with my group. I think sometimes it's just easy to talk, and it's just easy to say things, but I think there's a lot more value if I can show my viewers how exactly I'm doing these things. And who knows, maybe by doing this, I myself will be able to notice the way I do things, and give myself some feedback that okay, maybe that wasn't as effective as I thought it would be. So uh so this part about live streams, it's not it's I can't do it right now. I'm still working on trying to get a proper setup, and I don't know, will it be on YouTube, or maybe who knows, I have to go on Twitch. But if there's an idea of how I'm modeling this particular idea of live streams, would be Mike Merle's Happy Fun Hours. I don't know if any of you are watching that, but that's a sort of, I think I'm trying to go along those lines. And also prep videos. I don't know if any of you have been watching any prep videos on YouTube as well, especially for published adventures from Dungeons and Dragons. So I think the important takeaway here for why you should watch why you should watch my channel, basically it comes down to just one main important thing, that it's all about me. It's all about my journey to be to be a better GM, as a questing GM. And I'm just being very open about my process. I'm just being very open about my thoughts, and I'm just being very open about my opinions once in a while. I'm just hoping that some of it, if when it makes it through on video and you watch it, it somehow help you as well. I'm not really in the in the interest or in the game of trying to steer the community or you know have be accounted for as a voice in the RPG community. That's not really why I'm doing this. So everything that I say and do on this channel would probably come with from my own personal perspective and views on things, which most likely will include biases and preferences, which I'll try my best to point them out. Like if I have a certain view that is based on my biases, but biases are sometimes an unconscious thing. So I if anyone thinks that I have a very bad, very lousy opinion on something, there's not really much I can do about it. But just take them, just listen to it as if it's like a small voice in a distant void. It's not an important voice. You can totally ignore it. You don't have to get yourself agitated and emotional about it. Uh, you know, it's just everything is just my view, and it doesn't mean that it has to affect yours. Um, Another thing that if this other content types of content that I may also be creating in this channel, which is these are the ones that are totally unplanned of, but I'm seeing the potential that it might happen. It will be maybe things like series of something. It could be maybe I just because I recently finished an adventure module. If you've been following my Twitter, you know what it is, and maybe I'll just do like a video for each chapter of the module, or I'll just give like my so-called tips for doing that kind of thing. These are you know I would say based on the current need or the currency of the series that I plan to do. Um, like I said, these are unplanned, and I'm not closing myself off from the avenue that I might do that sort of thing. In fact, I am looking to see if I may be able to do a series of videos on that particular adventure module that I've just finished. This is in 2018. I may review that in future videos, but yeah, yeah, there may be some surprises here and there, but again, no promises. Um, Unboxing and flip throughs, yeah, maybe I don't see the harm of sharing and telling people what they get out of the box for new RPG products, but that's probably a very rare occurrence because I personally myself, RPGs, anyone who plays RPGs in Malaysia would know how expensive they are. So it's not a kind of luxury that I can treat myself to very often. uh, if I have them in PDFs and I can show them on a screen, then they'll be all the better. But yeah, there is a chance that I may do it, but not very likely. But you never know. And the last why, which to end the video, is basically to tell you why you shouldn't watch the Questing GM. And uh, basically these are sort of the things that you most likely will never ever find me do on this channel, and I don't have an intention to do these sort of things until something changes my mind, or maybe I'm in a better position to do them. The first thing is, which I already mentioned earlier, that I will never do those advice or tips or tricks type of videos. If some of you have been watching other RPG or D&D related YouTubers, you probably know what I'm talking about. 5 ways to create a fun NPC, 10 ways to kill your party or something like that. I will never do that. I don't think I'm also suited to do that sort of thing, because I have a personal belief that that you can't really tell people how to do things, and there's no how or should way of doing things in RPGs, because everything's so open and so flexible. uh, which is which is why when I'm going to do my GMing techniques related videos, it would be treat those as more like an option thing. Like you can or you could do it this way, but you don't necessarily have to do it that way if you don't want to, or you think it's or you think my ideas are stupid, then don't feel pressured to don't feel pressured to follow my suggestions, because it's not the suggestions is not really more for other people, but it's more for myself to remind myself what I was thinking about it. Yeah, and also that's not really the way I feel that I'm really contributing to the community if I consider myself to be part of it. I think every GM has their own unique solution to everything, and unless a GM is asking for advice, no other GM I think should really tell them that how to do it. That's just my personal belief right now. I mean, I'm not trying to take away other YouTubers who are doing that sort of thing. I mean, it's probably a business for them, so you just gotta respect that, and they are willing to do the effort and make the work. So you know, that's just not what I'm aiming for with this channel. So no should or ways to do things, not from me, not from this channel. So I probably have already turned off 70% of my subscribers here, but what can you do, right? Sponsored videos, also a very unlikely event to happen in this channel. I'm not looking for sponsorship or endorsements from companies or studios, and given how small scale that I'm trying to keep this, I think it's also a very unlikely occurrence as well. So nobody's interested in having the questing GM. It's like approve for the questing GM. I think nobody cares who the hell the questing GM is. Tutorial type videos. Also something that I don't think I can really spend too much time doing. That's why I brought in that whole idea about the future potential of doing live streams. I rather you look into how I do it rather than I teach you how I do it. And usually this type of tutorial type videos usually requires like a lot of editing, a lot of planning and scripting, and step by step, which is not something that I think I have the time to do, because part of the reason why I started doing YouTube videos is because I can just blare out everything in 30 minutes and upload and done. I'm most likely going to have very very little editing work done on my videos, so you have to take them as full scale as it is. Sorry to say. Definitely no craft type videos, no terrain crafting, no mini painting sort of thing, props even. Yeah, I'm just so bad at that kind of things. I like to keep I just like to keep my things digital so that I can share it around, but I'm so bad at craft related stuff. So yeah, unless by some miracle I suddenly get a plus 20 to my dexterity checks, then yeah, it might happen. But right now I'm happy having my dexterity 10 or dexterity 8 right now. Production value for this channel is likely to be at an all-time low. I want to keep it lean, low budget, and the main reason for that is I don't have a lot of disposable income to pour into a channel, and I'm not really interested in making it looking very super fancy. If by some miracle I actually manage to get a place where I can actually have my own YouTube mini studio, then maybe, but as the way things are right now, very unlikely. Another thing is, as I said, this is a very personal channel to me, and therefore I'm not using this channel to make any kind of money out of it. So I've no plans to monetize any of my videos on this channel, even if the subscriber base goes up by some miracle. So you won't hear me saying please share, like, subscribe, even though that might be against YouTube's policies for YouTubers. But I think I want to be honest about this. I'm not doing this for personal gain. I'm just doing this for my personal reasons, which is not money related. So yeah, I mean, if if you're the kind of person who wants their YouTubers to be very persuasive and very encouraging, then yeah, this might not be the channel for you. And I'm not even planning in any way to make this a full-time gig or to make it replace my day job, that sort of thing. So even a Patreon is also not a very likely idea for me. I'm not really interested in that sort of thing. uh, Clickbait and seeking attention. This 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 channel is definitely not trying to do any of that. Maybe the topics that I want to talk about may sound clickbaity or attention seeking, but that's certainly not my intentions of making those videos. I will try my best at least to make videos that I feel I have something interesting or valuable to say. So yeah, I'm just not the kind, I'm not really the bandwagon type of guy, which also brings me to another point where uh, I like to do things at my own pace and my own interest. So if I'm doing a set of videos which you know, like if I talk about my experience about a published adventure that is probably 3 years old by now, but it's my interest at that point in time, then I'm gonna do it. And the beauty of it is that once I've done a video on it, it's, you know, it stays on YouTube, and if that particular topic becomes relevant to you at a future point in time, you can always come back and watch that. Yeah. So yeah, I'm I'm probably going to be talking about a lot of things that are not on the cutting edge of what's happening in the community, and that's just the way I want it to be. And the last reason, which why you probably shouldn't watch the Questing GM channel, is that I don't have a fixed schedule right now of videos, of when I'll be making videos. At this point, you know, this is only my second video, but I've been thinking a little bit about it, like how I want to schedule my videos, and at this point I can't really have a concrete answer for that. So I just want to feel out like when's the most comfortable time for me to make videos, and also when is the right time to, you know, for people to watch my videos. So I don't want to commit myself to a fixed schedule that I do not know if I can keep. So things are gonna be a little weird for a while. Especially I think after this video, when I start putting my ass into start making content. But yeah, I haven't decided on a frequency. It could be a week, it could be once a week, once in 2 weeks, as some of my players have suggested. Could be once a month. For all we know, I'm not denying the possibility of every day. That'll be amazing. But I'm not sure if I have enough content to run through so many. So yeah, so don't expect a fixed schedule from this channel for right now. That's something that I'll look into, that if it will change, if things are becoming better or worse. So yeah, so don't be surprised if you see I'm being very productive one week and then I go completely quiet the next. Although I suspect that it will not be as bad as my blog, which I can write a post in the early of the year and say that I'm coming back to blog a bit more, and then the next thing you know is I never blog again for the rest of the year. It's happened not just once, it has happened more than that. So yeah, I've already learned my lesson that, you know, I don't want to put myself on the spot and committing to schedules that I can't commit. So these are all the 4 whys of the Questing GM, and it's already running more than half an hour. So yeah, I just thought that I should put everything out up front and explain myself, and you know, I've already given you reasons why you should watch my videos, and I also given you reasons why you shouldn't watch my videos. So take them all as you will. If you want to unsubscribe, you don't want to follow, you don't want to hear me yap around for more than 30 minutes, I'm perfectly fine. If nobody else watches my videos, I'm the only one left, I'm perfectly fine with that. And you know, I respect your rights juice more than senpai notice me. So yeah, so I'll leave it at that. I don't know when my next video will be. Probably very soon, because I already have a few things that I want to talk about. But like I said, no fixed schedule. Maybe I need to think things through a bit better. And yeah, that'll be that's all for now, I guess. So I'll see you in the next one. Bye.